When did the loser sibling finally win? I spent my childhood digging through trash cans for the toys my brother Mackie threw away. He always got everything new while I got his scraps. For Christmas, I had to watch Mackie open a second new Tamagotchi in case the first one dies, while I was left with a dead one that had a screen so scratched you couldn't see the pet, even if it did somehow work. Even on my 10th birthday, when I begged for a Game Boy Advance, my family handed me Mackie's old Game Boy Color with a scratched screen that barely worked. It's too expensive, they said, only to buy Mackie a GBA a week later. I tried to complain about it, but my parents immediately shut me down, saying, "Why waste money when your brother's old one works perfectly fine?" And each time he'd get something new, I'd just find it in the trash a week later. "It's for babies," Mackie would tell me. But when I found his entire card collection in the trash can, thrown out and forgotten, like how my parents pretty much did with me, I actually felt excited. It was like digging up treasure. I looked around and grabbed it, cleaned up his old premium binder, and admired the restoration. "Welcome to the family," I said to the cards before storing it away safely. After that, I fell in love with restoring and collecting everything Mackie threw out. I kept things in their cases so they wouldn't get dusty, made acrylic boxes for other toys, and even saved all my allowance just to buy a limited edition binder for the Pokemon cards. I joined a few online forum groups for toy collectors and picked up on how to restore the dead Tamagotchi and repair the screen. When it started working, I grinned and shared it online. Everyone applauded me, wishing their kids took care of their toys like me. And over the years, I ended up making a lot of friends from these groups, all nerds and geeks whose rooms looked like vintage museums. So when Mackie continued mocking me saying, "Your room looks like you're 5, grow up already," it didn't even bother me anymore. 10 years later, the communities I'd joined became massively popular. The collection I started when I was just 6 ended up being worth more than a fancy full-paid house, but I never sold any of it, not even when my brother mocked me for having a room that deflected girls, or when my parents shamed me for buying toys at my age. Ironically, my brother Mackie ended up having kids of his own that were obsessed with Pokemon cards, just like he used to be. They wouldn't touch last month's cards and only wanted the newest packs. Mackie constantly complained about how crazy the prices are nowadays, and how scalpers buy everything. $50 for one pack and I can't even find any. It's insane. He'd rant about his kids crying and crying if they didn't get the exact new set they wanted, never really recognizing how he was exactly the same years ago. But last week, the day before his kid's birthday, Mackie texted me frantically, "Are you home? Emergency." He showed up looking exhausted with 2 screaming kids trailing behind him. Every store is sold out. Every single day this week I hunted for those stupid cards. 20 stores. I went to 20 freaking stores while these brats have been crying their eyes out for days. I can't get any sleep, he ranted. I asked which set they needed. "I don't know. The new one? The sparkly shiny Eevee ones." I nodded and escaped to my room. I came back and held up 2 unopened packs. "These?" His kid's eyes went huge. "Wow, uncle, how do you have these? They're sold out everywhere." I grinned. "I have a few friends," I said, and asked if they wanted to see my collection room. The room had walls of perfectly preserved games, cards, and toys from our childhood, plus all the current releases. Mackie stared at his kids, who were running around admiring everything. "You still have all this baby stuff?" I shrugged. "Yeah, well, those babies right there are worth a fortune." He looked at me like I was crazy, while his older kid pulled out their phone and started scanning items. "Dad, this Tamagotchi is worth $400. This sealed Game Boy is $5,000. Holy crap, this is amazing." He snapped photos of it. "I wish we had this at home too." I watched my brother frown at his comment, clearly hurt. He walked around the room quietly until he spotted his old binder. His face went white as he started frantically looking up prices on his phone. When his eyes landed on the Charizard, he laughed in disbelief. "Are you freaking kidding me? $400,000? This was mine." I smiled. "Well, it was. But I scooped it up from the trash, kept it safe when it was worth nothing. That's the funny thing about treasure. Worthless to you, priceless to others." Mackie walked around the room, hands shaking when he recognized item after item he once owned, calculating what he'd thrown away. Meanwhile, his kids carefully held out the cards I had given, asking if I could teach them how to preserve them like I did. I showed them the proper sleeves and storage. The key is respecting what you have. Now his kids visit every weekend to learn about collecting and preservation. They tell their friends I'm the coolest adult ever.